So for our Henri Matisse paper cutout today, we're going to need a lot of colorful paper, glue, scissors, and a pencil to put our name on it. But the whole picture is going to be done just with colorful paper. So I'm actually going to go through and find the white paper first and use that as my background. But it doesn't matter what color you use to start with. Just what I'm used to. So I'm going to put my name on the back in first grade. Flip it over, and then we're going to cut and glue shapes onto here. So the first thing we need is a background that's made of colorful geometric shapes, like squares and rectangles. So I'm going to pick out some colors that I like first. And you can actually start with 2 or 3 together. And here's another little tip for getting the job done. See the corner? That's half of a rectangle already. So if I just take my scissors and cut a rectangle out of the corner, it makes it a lot easier. And if you stacked up 2 or 3 papers to cut, then you've cut out 2 or 3 rectangles and you've saved yourself a lot of time. So once you get the colors cut out that you want, the next step is to arrange them the way you want. And we want to kind of piece them together like a puzzle. And here's how I do it. I put a dot in each corner of the back of the piece of paper, flip it over, and then stick it down so it's really flat. And you can kind of piece them together and see how they fit, see what colors look good together. Put just a dot in each corner, one in the middle, flip it over, stick it down flat, and I'm going to keep going until I fill up the background. There we go. So I pieced my puzzle together and I've got a background made of geometric shapes, squares and rectangles, and I filled up the white. So the next thing we can do is take some of those scraps we didn't use and start cutting them into organic shapes. So these are geometric shapes, but now I want to do organic shapes. And I actually noticed that that'll fit in there pretty nicely. So I'm going to cut an organic shape that fits into this blue one. And orange and blue are opposites, so it's going to look good together. So now I'm cutting out an organic shape, and that just means natural, like a shape you'd see in nature. And the way I'm doing that is I'm turning the paper as I cut. And so my scissors are always pointing away from me. But as I'm cutting with my other hand, I'm just kind of twisting the paper around. So there we go, there's an organic shape. And just like with the other shapes, we just want some dots of glue on the back and then stick them down flat. I'm going to do mine diagonal. I think that's going to be more interesting. Stick it down flat. I'm going to keep going and filling these up with shapes. What you want to remember is don't put like a red on top of a red, because then you won't be able to see it. But I could put it on top of any other color. If you want to make a spiral, I'll show you how to do that in a second too. But another thing you could do is instead of bumps, you could actually do zigzag. So I could cut triangles out of a shape so it kind of looks spiny, like it's got pokey things, like a dinosaur's back or some kind of plant that you don't want to touch. All these things come from nature, that's why they're organic shapes. So there's 2 different kinds of shapes that we use in art: geometric and organic. And organic just means it comes from nature, doesn't have a name to it. Geometric just means it's perfect. It's the kind of shape you'd use in math when you're talking about area and things like that. So there we go, there's a cool shape. I kind of like it better like that. Looks like a person walking or a crazy alien. And you could tell a story with this paper cutout too. So sometimes Matisse would just have fun with the shapes. Sometimes he would do a paper cutout about the circus or about sea creatures, or a garden. It's up to you. It could just be abstract and just be shapes. I'm going to keep... Oh, let me show you how to do a spiral. So I'll show you one more thing. I need a color that's different from brown. Let's do pink, why not? Alright, so I'll just show you how to do a spiral really quick. It's kind of tricky. but I bet you can do it if you try. So I'm going to just take my paper, and just like we do with organic shapes, we're going to turn the paper as we cut. And start out with a circle, just like that. But then I'm going to just kind of come in, and I'm going to start cutting around and around, and it's going to get smaller and smaller like this. See that? And you could make a snake this way. That's always a fun project. But I can't just glue that down like that, because when I glue it back down flat, it's just going to look like a circle. So what I have to do is cut through the middle of my snake. So kind of like this. See that? And this will actually give you 2 spirals. But I'm just cutting right down the middle of that spirally shape I cut. And then I usually pick the bigger one to glue down. You don't have to do the whole thing. There we go. See that? So that's how you do a spiral, like a twisty shape. And that's an organic shape too. And I'm putting dots on the back and flipping it over. Stick it down flat. Nice and flat. Pretend it's a painting. You want everything to be flat. And once you filled it up, you're all set. And that's how Henri Matisse makes his paper cutouts. And it can be hard to cut these shapes, but if you practice, you can do some really cool things. So work hard and have fun, and I'll see you next time.